Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and Avengers Endgame ended with a tearful send-off to Captain America that, well, once the tears were wiped and everyone started thinking, confused the hell out of everyone, including the film's directors and the screenwriters, who apparently disagree on what the hell happened in the final minutes. And recently, we just got some clarification from the movie's VFX team, who have been revealing the interesting process behind how these crazy visuals were put together, including the hilarious image of Mark Ruffalo checking his teeth for breakfast scraps, but also a tidbit about Steve Rogers at the end of the film. Endgame visual effects producer Jen Underdahl described how they used a stand-in actor for Cap and then digitally swapped in Chris Evans' made-up face and warped his neck and shoulders and nose to make him look even more Clint Eastwoody. And then she said this.
So in the case of Captain America, what would a super soldier look like if he had aged 106 years?
106 years! That's a specific number, and it's important because it clarifies some of the disputing details we've heard about Cap's timeline in the new history or histories created by Endgame's final scene. So until now, the directors, Joe and Anthony Russo, have said that their interpretation is that Cap going back in time to be with Peggy Carter creates a new alternate history that we never see, where events play out completely differently. Perhaps different Avengers, maybe no Hydra Winter Soldier program, maybe Tony Stark's parents don't die. The Russos have also said that Cap would have to use a Pym particle to return from that alternate timeline back to this one, which I guess he could do by re-entering that time vortex within the quantum realm and then going back to the branch point of origin, which would be in the 40s, and then go back up that original branch to 2023 to hand off the shield to Sam. Okay, just sounds like magic. Just go with it. Meanwhile, the Endgame screenwriters, Marcus and McFeely, M&M, have a different take that they are frustratingly insistent on repeating every time they're asked about it in an interview. They say that when Cap went back to the 40s, he stayed in this timeline, living out his life with Peggy Carter, presumably creeping around in the background when his younger self emerged from the ice to salute his own ass, and then randomly showed up sitting on a bench at that precise moment. Not unlike that time travel daddy issues movie Frequency when elderly Dennis Quaid barged in with a shotgun at the miraculous moment to save his son, despite how weird it is that in that new revised timeline, the old man must have just been sitting in a chair with a shotgun for hours and hours while his son was being attacked by his former enemy, and then just showed up at the last second to, win the dramatic timing award? Now, I obviously have a lot of issues with time travel logic in movies, but M&M aren't even sticking to their own rules of time travel that they laboriously put in their movie, wherein significant changes to the past must create new branch timelines, not suggest weird old super soldiers were creeping around in the background of every MCU film that we've been watching. But now, knowing that old man Cap is 106 years old clarifies some of that confusion. Steve Rogers was born on July 4th, 1918. Most of Endgame takes place in the year 2023, but that final scene could take place sometime after, maybe 2024. So 1918 to 2024 gets you 106 years. But Cap obviously didn't age that entire period of time. From 1945 to 2011, he was frozen in the ice. He was 27 when he went down, and when he thawed out in 2011, he was still 27. So in Avengers Endgame, he would be around 39 or 40 years old. That would mean when 39-year-old Cap went back in time to be with Peggy, he would have lived another 67 years of life with her before coming back as Clint Eastwood to meet Sam. The screenwriters said that the exact year that Cap went back was 1948. So that's 3 years after Cap went in the ice. That would leave Peggy 3 years to grieve before Cap comes from the future, 12 years older than when she last saw him, and it just works. So the problem with the screenwriter's explanation, 1948 plus 67 years is 2015, but this bench moment is 2023 or 2024. The VFX team would have to use 115 as the base age for old man Cap, but they specifically said 106. Alternatively, Cap could have gone back to the year 1956 or 1957, but I don't know, those closing shots of that old car in the neighborhood are more America 1940s than America 1950s, based on my expertise from watching Back to the Future and Pearl Harbor. And 11 or 12 years for Peggy Carter to grieve, it's just too long a time to expect a woman to wait before coming back from the dead. And the writers themselves said 48. So the only way the age of 106 works for Cap is if we use the Russos' interpretation. Cap, at age 39, went back to be with Peggy in 1948, causing a new branch history to split off. Cap lived 67 years with Peggy, and yeah, he freed Bucky from Hydra captivity, he saved Tony Stark's parents, he prevented every terrorist attack. And then, around the year 2015, 67 years later, when he would be around 106 years old, Cap thinks to himself, 2024's coming up, and I don't know what happens in history after that, so people are gonna be mighty upset with me when lots of bad stuff starts to happen, and I can't do nothing about it. And 2015 is the year Pym tech gets refined when Hank Pym worked with Scott Lang in the events of Ant-Man. So around this time, old man Cap hobbles over to connect with old man Pym and then uses the Pym tech to return to a different timeline, our home timeline, because apparently it's very important for Sam Wilson to say goodbye and get a new shield. So there you have it. Thanks to math and the true heroes of these Avengers movies, the VFX artists, we finally have one proven logical explanation for how R&R beat M&M. So what version of time travel in Avengers Endgame makes the most sense to you? Comment down below with your thoughts, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Erik Voss, and subscribe to New Rockstars for breakdowns and theories about everything Marvel. Thank you for joining me, and I know it's rude to ask someone their age, but thanks to Old Man Cap, we can now sleep at night.